Good evening. I hope you're doing well tonight. I've got a question for you. Do you like to drive? Do you enjoy that feeling every time you turn the key or press that push to start button or connect those wires under the dashboard and suddenly this cold hard lump of iron or aluminium comes to life? And in that chamber, when the mixture of air, fuel and spark ignite and the pistons are pumping, all under the command of the flex of your foot. And to the flex of your foot, you get a response. The roar, the growl of that engine, the whistle of the turbo, and the whine of the supercharger. Or perhaps if you drive an electric car or a hybrid car, the silent waft of superiority is what you're met with. Well, if you like that, if you enjoy moving from point A to B, if you enjoy being the captain of your destiny, heading off into different adventures behind the wheel of a vehicle, then you no doubt care about not just the present, but the future of mobility. And that's the conversation we're talking about tonight, the future of mobility, e-mobility, electric mobility. And I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the future is already here with us. And we'll be able to talk about that later on. We have a gentleman, a guest whom you don't want to miss. But first, the highlights.
Act in a manner that promotes public confidence in the integrity and impartiality of the judicial service. That one definitely clearly indicates that the CJ did not comply with the law.
A Kenyan citizen filed a petition to oust CJ Martha Koome from office. This as JSC defends Koome. Business operations paralyzed at the War Memorial Hospital after unknown people invaded the facility shortly after its reopening.
Na kulingana na imani yangu siwezi mgeuka Yesu ambaye ananipea chakula kila siku.
And we shall tell you about a woman in Vihiga County who refuses to take her children to school, citing religion. Now, you know the drill. Let's keep the conversations going. We are live on YouTube. Share with your friends, even enemies if you need to. They will appreciate you for that. We are also on Twitter, currently X, formerly Twitter, at TV47 News. My handle is at Muyakane. And I'll be happy to engage with you, not just on the news and reviews, but also on the conversation that we'll be having a little bit later on e-mobility. With me tonight to help me guide this ship is our sign language anchor, Catherine Simaloy. And with that, the news begins now. A private citizen has filed a petition seeking to remove Chief Justice Martha Koome from office. The petitioner, one Michael Kojo Otieno, claims that the Chief Justice failed to follow the law in appointing members of the Tax Appeal Tribunal. Kojo argues that the CJ was not transparent and diligent, adding that she discriminated against persons who had applied to be members of the tribunal. George Maringa reports.
The preamble of the Judicial Service Code of Conduct Ethics based on Section 5.1 of the Public Officers Ethics Act Number 4 of 2003 provides that the code is intended to establish standards of ethical conduct of judicial officers to be applied consistently with constitutional requirement. That is a legislation from Parliament, hence makes her unfit to hold public office.
Michael Kojo Otieno has filed a petition with the Judicial Service Commission seeking the removal of Chief Justice Martha Koome from office. Otieno alleges that CJ Koome failed to adhere to the law in appointing members to the Tax Appeal Tribunal.
That is Rule 3.5. States that a judicial officer shall exhibit respect to the rule of law, comply with law, avoid impropriety and appearance of impropriety, and act in a manner that promotes public confidence in the integrity and impartiality of the judicial service. That one definitely clearly indicates that the CJ did not comply with the law.
Speaking outside the Milimani Law Courts, Otieno claimed that the Chief Justice lacked transparency and discriminated against certain applicants during the appointment process. He has raised 7 specific issues in his petition. According to Otieno, the CJ failed to conduct herself in a manner promoting transparency, lacked selflessness, did not foster public trust, and violated Article 166(2) of the Constitution.
The third ambit is about the national values and principles of good governance, anchored in Article 10. That is, the rule of law is there, impartiality is there. We also have got democracy is there and human rights. Those persons who had applied for those given positions and did not get the opportunity to be appointed, then definitely defeats the cause of justice.
The controversy stems from the CJ's appointments made 10 months ago, as indicated in a Gazette notice dated May 10th, 2023. In that notice, CJ Koome stated that the newly appointed members selected through the Judicial Service Commission GSC would serve a 3-year term.
19th May 2023, that is Gazette notices 6285, 6286 and 6287. Excellency, the Chief Justice appointed 22 members, which is contrary to the dictates of the law.
This development has sparked mixed reactions, with leaders from Meru County defending Chief Justice Martha Koome.
The petition is misplaced because the Chief Justice, I believe, is a stickler for the law, and I know her personally, and I believe she would not be doing anything wrong. If it is political, I think it should be removed, because we are going to aggravate the situation.
And I think Mother has been very level-headed. She has been discussing things and talking things without any favor regarding even the country Kenya, and also regarding her judiciary department. And I find it really awkward. I can say it's witch hunting or fighting our president through the back door.
It remains to be seen whether Otieno's petition will gain traction and hold merit. Time will tell. George Maringa, TV47, Nairobi.
In other news, President William Ruto insists that the housing project will go on, urging contractors not to halt employment of 130,000 workers engaged in the affordable housing project. Despite a court decision declaring the 1.5% housing tax deductions unconstitutional, the president, speaking at the Naitiri groundbreaking ceremony in Bungoma County, insisted that the construction of the affordable housing project will continue. And as Elizabeth Mutuku reports, the head of state underlined the significance of the housing initiative, saying he has a well-devised plan in place.
President William Ruto embarked on a 4-day tour in Western Region, commencing his visit in Bungoma County. Today, he focused on advocating for his affordable housing agenda. During his tour, President William Ruto addressed concerns about the housing project's future, asserting that it will proceed despite a court ruling that halted the collection of 1.5 tax, deeming it unconstitutional, and deterred. The number one in command emphasized on the unwavering commitment to the Kenya Kwanza agenda, ensuring provisions of affordable housing for Kenyans.
Mandates me to explain if there is a problem, if we cannot raise money to do housing. We have a plan on how to raise money for housing. I have no explanation to give. This program must move forward for the benefit of millions of Kenyans across the country in terms of employment, and in also making sure that ordinary Kenyans can also access affordable living.
President Ruto reassured the public that the housing project, a vital component of the livelihoods, will not be halted in response to the recent protests where workers downed tools in Ruto and Kibra. He urged contractors not to suspend the employment of 130,000 workers involved in the nationwide housing initiative.
Contractors wote wanaofanya kazi kwa mambo ya affordable housing, pamoja na vijana wote na wale wanafanya kazi katika mpango huu, karibu watu 1130. Mimi nataka niwaambie waendelee kazini kwa sababu hii mpango inaendelea mpaka pale tutamalizana na mambo kule kote.
President William Ruto says the housing project remains a Kenyan-approved project through the Kenya Kwanza Manifesto as well as Parliament, and despite the politics around the matter, he will not relent.
People voted overwhelmingly for the housing plan in our manifesto in the last general elections. Parliament voted overwhelmingly for laws to establish the housing fund and all the attendant legal requirements. We have discharged our responsibility to the people of Kenya. Therefore, we want to continue to give an opportunity to millions of young people to earn an income through jobs in this program.
The head of state is expected to continue with his 4-day tour in the Western region tomorrow. Elizabeth Motuko, TV47, Nairobi.
In other news, 5 children between the age of 3 months and 10 years have been rescued from what is believed to be a radical upbringing by their mother in Madidi village of Vihiga County. The 28-year-old woman is accused of denying her children the right to education and Medicare, citing her religious beliefs in an operation spearheaded by Assistant Chief David Alumasa. The woman and her 5 children were relocated from their residence in Madidi village to the Children's Office headquarters of Vihiga County. Our reporter Arnold Adidi with more.
Early today, officers from the local administration arrived at this home located in Madidi village in Vihiga sub-county. This intervention was prompted by a tip regarding a young mother allegedly imposing a radical lifestyle on her 5 children, citing her strong faith as the driving force. The children, oblivious to the unconventional way of life imposed upon them, have never been enrolled in school or received any medical attention.
Kufika 2019 kama mtoto wangu wa kwanza huyo nilikuwa sasa ndio nitaka kuanza kumpeleka shule, kukatangazwa kuwa masomo sasa inabadilishwa, yale yenye yalikuwa mazuri yanawekwa yale masomo ya kuharibu watoto ambao mojawapo ni sex education. Na kulingana na imani yangu siwezi mgeuka Yesu ambaye ananipea chakula kila siku niende kuabudu sex education, watoto wangu wasome sex education wakiwa wadogo. Imani yangu inajenga kwa sababu naishi tu kwa neema. Kwa wakati inasemekana lazima nipeleke mtoto hospitali ndiye akue healthy, na mimi nikajaribu nikaona sijapeleka mtoto hospitali na wako very healthy. Kumaanisha sasa Mungu yupo na ninamwabudu hata mahali penye niko.
The 28-year-old mother who spent a significant portion of the day undergoing questioning by officers from the Children's Department in Vihiga County justifies her actions based on her steadfast faith. Interestingly, despite her professed devotion, she claims not to attend any church. She attributes the inception of this lifestyle to her husband employed in the capital city of Nairobi. Unfortunately, attempts to contact the husband proved futile as the woman refused to provide any information.
Nishasema mimi sina kanisa. Mume wangu yeye ndio mwanzilishi wa hii imani. Akakuja kuniambia hapa penye tumefika saa hii, na yeye amelelewa kwa uchafu wenye unaonekana saa hii. Afadhali tumfuate Yesu kuliko tujitie unajisi yenye uko kwa sasa hivi.
Despite not being affiliated with any church, the woman insists on her beliefs, which were introduced by her elusive husband.
Kipita kitoka kama huko chini, sangina na huwa na patrol huko chini kidogo, sababu watu wanasumbua kuibaiba. Nikikuja huwa nasikia kama wanaimba hivi. Hapa nda. Wanaimba na watoto wake tu. Lakini kwenda kanisani sijawahi sikia wala kuona.
Watoto wakaanza kugonjeka. Peleka mtoto hospitali. Anakataa. Hospitali ni mapepo. Kila mtu hapa ni mapepo. Peleka watoto shuleni. Hata saa ile anakuwa na mimba, aendanji kliniki. Anasema mimi niende kwa mapepo.
Speaking to TV47, the woman's neighbors acknowledged witnessing peculiar behavior at the suspect's residence on multiple occasions. However, their attempts to intervene were unsuccessful. The neighbors also revealed that the woman had adopted a secluded lifestyle, preventing anyone from accessing her home or interacting with her children.
Kanisani haendi, hata hospitali haendi, ako tu hapa vile tunamuona hivi. Sasa tunafikiria hapa, tuna mawazo na watoto ni wazuri, anafungia watoto kwa nyumba, aongei na kila mtu, hata aongei na wazazi wake wote ni mapepo, majirani ni mapepo. Sasa tunafikiria sasa wao watoto watasaidika namna gani?
Confirming the incident, Area Assistant Chief David Alumasa said officers from the Children's Department in collaboration with the police have initiated an investigation to uncover the motivations behind this unusual situation.
Na hawa watoto ni watoto watano. Mtoto wa kwanza ako na miaka 10, mtoto wa pili ako na miaka 6, mtoto wa tatu ako na miaka 4, mwingine ako na miaka 3 na mdogo kabisa ako na miezi 3. La ajabu ni kwamba hawa watoto wote hawajaipeleka hospitali kupata chanjo yoyote ile. Na ukiongelesha mama anaonekana ni mtu ako informed. Kwake kuna TV, kuna radio.
And wakati huu tunashukuru maana tumeweza kupata wale watoto, tumewarescue.
Arnold Adidi, TV47, Vihiga.
Now, shortly after the Nakuru Law Courts issued an order for the reopening of the War Memorial Hospital, the facility faced another closure as an unidentified group of people invaded the premises and forcibly expelled health workers. The reopening had been carried out under the supervision of the Nakuru County Police Commander Samuel Ndanyi. Here is Chichi Josephine with the details.
Chaos unfolded at the main entrance of the War Memorial Hospital as eager crowds awaited the facility's reopening weeks after its closure. However, shortly after, Nakuru County Police Commander Samuel Ndanyi supervised the hospital's opening, unidentified people invaded the facility, causing disturbances and harassing health workers. This unexpected incident paralyzed business operations within the facility.
Tuliingia kwa hospitali, hatukumaliza even 10 minutes, tukakuja tukafurushwa na goons. After kufurushwa na goons, the goons took over the hospital and we don't know what they are doing. They are there and we are not there. None of the staff is there. All the staff were thrown out. So sahi wametuambia wataki kutuona hapo. Wakasema shamba ni ya serikali na wametumwa na county na shamba, they are protecting the shamba.
The reopening of the hospital was ordered by Judge Anthony Ombweya, who directed the Nakuru County Police Boss to oversee the process. Despite the court order, the atmosphere inside the wards revealed that patients had been hastily and unexpectedly evacuated during the facility's takeover.
I pray the authority, please let this be the last time we are undergoing this. We pray, there be understanding between the county, War Memorial, and any other person. Let the staff and the patients not be put in this mess. We don't deserve it.
Nakuru East Member of Parliament David Gikaria expressed his disappointment with the court order, saying that once the land lease expires, the renewal should be handled by the county government.
Lease ikikwisha, the first request to renew your lease goes to the county. Ilikuwa inakuja kwa municipal, sasa inaenda kwa county. Alafu county wanaweka no objection, wanaweka recommendation yao inaenda.
The War Memorial Hospital has been at the center of a dispute between its management and the Nakuru County government over a 25-acre piece of land. The county government took over the facility, alleging that the management had engaged in document forgery, leading to a protracted legal and administrative conflict.
Tunaomba governor and his team na sisi wajumbe na timu ya War Memorial tupatane kwa maongeo, tuondoe mambo ya kotini, so that tuje hapa tuongee na tusikizane ya kwamba hospitali iendelee.
Chichi Josephine, TV 47.
Defense Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale today launched Peace Support Operations, or PSOS Fund, which will be critical in enabling the military deploy troops in peace support operations globally. Following MP's approval of the Public Finance Management Regulations 2023, the Kenya Defence Forces will have its own dedicated fund to support its rapid operations. Mike Kagwongo reports.
The launch comes months after the cabinet chaired by President William Ruto approved the establishment of Peace Support Operations PSOs Fund in August last year to facilitate the Kenya Defence Forces attain appropriate levels at the United Nations peacekeeping capability and help in maintenance of contingent-owned equipment and other assets during such operations. The National Assembly Committee on Delegated Legislation, in its report last year, endorsed the creation of this fund, emphasizing its support for KDF's peacekeeping efforts. The government is expected to contribute 1 billion shillings to the 7 billion shillings special fund, with an additional 6 billion shillings expected from UN peacekeeping operations. The funds will be utilized for financing and maintaining contingent-owned equipment and assets, establishing equipment parks as approved by the Defense Council for PSO, enhancing units to meet United Nations peacekeeping capability readiness standards, and funding force generation and force projection activities.
This fund is tangible embodiment of our unwavering commitment to peace, both within our region and across the globe.
The days when the blue flag was a natural protection are long gone. Consequently, peacekeepers today operate in an environment where they themselves are targets of the belligerents.
The National Assembly Committee on Delegated Legislation outlined that while KDF has constant access to the fund, an annual audit by the Auditor General, similar to other special funds like the Youth Enterprise, will be conducted for transparency and accountability.
This fund represents more than just a financial allocation. It embodies our pledge to the international community and our citizens that Kenya will remain a beacon of peace and stability.
Accountability will remain the bedrock of this fund. Every allocated shilling shall be utilized for the intended purpose, and that is supporting the various efforts of the Kenya Defence Forces participation in peacekeeping.
Defense Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale has urged the fund administrator and secretariat to ensure prudent management of resources to guarantee success in mandate implementation. Mike Kagwongo, TV47, Nairobi.
Plays a crucial role in peace. The government has allocated 10 billion shillings to the Agriculture Finance Corporation in the medium-term budget in a bid to increase access to loans by farmers. Meanwhile, 100,000 metric tons of fertilizer have been imported for distribution. This strategic move is expected to boost maize production in the country. Sheila Chelangat reports.
The government's ambitious initiative to distribute approximately 12 million bags of subsidized fertilizers is set to begin soon, representing a significant increase compared to the previous year's distribution.
So in readiness for the planting season, the government is distributing subsidized fertilizer for the long rains season and to registered farmers, please note, at Kenya shillings 2,500 per bag.
The distribution of
We apologize. We appear to have some technical difficulty with that story. We shall bring you up to speed on that fertilizer story in no time. But in the meantime, the National Assembly Health Committee has called for heightened investigations into the recent cases of fraud involving some hospitals linked to the National Hospital Insurance Fund, that is NHIF. The committee is advocating for a thorough investigation to exonerate those found innocent, allowing them to resume normal operations. And as Elizabeth Atieno reports, members of the National Assembly Health Committee now say that it is necessary for the government to establish an independent body responsible for licensing and regulating private practice in hospitals nationwide.
On Monday this week, Health Cabinet Secretary Susan Nakhumicha said the Edu Afya scheme will be scrapped and learners will now be covered alongside their household in the primary healthcare fund. This is after 4.3 billion Kenya shillings was lost in the Edu Afya scheme that covers treatment for secondary school learners, forcing the government to stop the renewal of the scheme due to the alleged graft. As the probe into the alleged scandal intensifies, the Parliamentary Health Committee on Thursday toured the Bongo Chest and Skin Clinic in Ishiara, Embu County, where they established that the hospital had a slight mismatch in the records of students treated in the clinic under the Edu Afya program.
What happened? The Ministry of Education. The schools belong to Ministry of Education, but the teachers belong to TSC. That was to avoid a conflict of interest.
They further found that the records of 2 out of the about 2,000 students treated in the hospital were captured in the electronic records, but not in the hard copy records.
And he has explained himself that the problem was the system, and he admitted that the system missed the 2 students, but they are in the hard copy of his register.
The committee report has also questioned the high number of students that opted for the facilities currently under investigations, with speculations rife that the students were procured for the purposes of committing fraud.
His main accusation was that he got money from Edu Afya. Edu Afya is the insurance that was covering students unfairly. They said he influenced students to come to this hospital. He received so many students that list high blues.
The hospital's CEO, Dr. Dan Bongo, told the committee that the period when they had a high turnout of students was correspondent to a time when area schools were using contaminated and treated water, leading to an outbreak of a stomach ailment.
Because for them, they came, they accused, and they went and made a judgment away from them. You are not even told to appear. Personally, I was not even told to appear anywhere, to explain myself.
The vice chair of the committee, Patrick Munene, said the allegations of fraud had left the hospitals in limbo to the detriment of the patients.
Patients are suffering because institutions that were stopped from admitting patients who use NHIF, those patients are suffering because we know most of our people rely on NHIF.
The legislators have further proposed for the establishment of an independent body other than the Kenya Medical Practitioners and Dentists Council, KMPDC, that will regulate hospitals and clinics. The committee visited some hospitals in the eastern region mentioned in the fraud report. The legislators now say some of the hospitals have minor omissions and there is no valid reason as to why they should remain suspended. Elizabeth Atieno, TV47.
Time for sports, and a ticket to watch the Gor Mahia versus Police FC football match on Saturday the price of that ticket has been increased by more than 10 times. The Football Kenya Federation Premier League game will be played at the medium-sized Police Sacco Stadium in South C, Nairobi County. Earlier today, Police FC announced that entry charges for the top-of-the-table clash will be as follows. Regular tickets will go for a whopping 1,500 shillings, up from 200 shillings, while a VIP seat will cost 2,000 shillings, up from 500 shillings. To access the VVIP area, you will part with 3,000 shillings. Police FC CEO Chris Onguso, who is out of the country, defended these exorbitant charges, claiming that only 500 fans will be allowed into the facility this weekend. The VVIP area will accommodate 50 people. The VIP section will have 100 fans, while the terraces will have 350 supporters. Enthusiasts are encouraged to watch the game on television, and tickets will only be sold online today. today and tomorrow. No sale of tickets will be done on match day on Saturday. Over to Rally, and the World Rally Championship Safari Rally organizers have been forced to make route changes ahead of the March competition. Clerk of the course, GOtv maintained that despite the alterations, the race will still be the toughest in the world. The changes were necessitated after shifting it to the Easter holiday, and cars will zoom off the ramp on the 28th of March at the Kenyatta International Convention Center. Spectators in Nairobi will enjoy watching the 50 cars at Kasarani Stadium before drivers traverse Kajiado, Naivasha and Nakuru stages. The competition is the third round of the WRC series.
We've added a few areas where spectators can meet the crews. Last year we had a meet and greet for spectators at the Safari Center on the way down to Naivasha on the Thursday. We're going to increase that and have the same thing at Buffalo Mall on the Friday and Saturday. We do what we can on the ground. End of the day, the weather is not really up to us. It's just we don't have any. The weather will come when it comes. The reason we haven't made so many changes is because the time frame moving the dates to Easter reduced for us. So it's last time to organize the event, where in the past we've had 11-12 months to actually work on the event. We've had a few months less.
Now, on that note, we want to take a short break. And it's actually quite fitting that we end on a motorsport note, because after this break, we will have a gentleman here who is well known in the car circles of Kenya, and we're going to have a conversation on e-mobility, electric vehicles, electric mobility. If you have any questions on this, send in your questions, your views, and your feedback through our Twitter handle at TV47 News, @Muyakane. And of course, I don't want to tell you who it is, but those on X or Twitter already know who it is. Send in your questions and he'll be able to answer your questions live. You can also use our SMS line, which is